everybody, welcome back to Michael Claret Arts. It is, of course, time once again for a warm-up drawing. Today we're going to be starting out with gorillas. Let's get at it. And here we are at my standing drawing desk once again to review. Over the past few weeks we've been drawing animals, from elephants to otters to dogs, so on and so forth. Today, as noted by yesterday's video, we're going to be drawing some gorillas. Gorillas are part of the great ape family, which include chimpanzees, as well as orangutans. I jest. Orangutans, and I believe the differences between the species would probably due to the fact that gorillas do not have tails, whereas things like your macaques, your monkeys do have tails. And I love drawing apes in general. It is my jam. I just love it. I love drawing in general, but I had the opportunity to go to the Tampa Zoo not too long ago, and they had a pavilion with some chimpanzees, and I stood there watching them for a long while because I am enamored with apes. Their behaviors, what they do, how they interact with each other. It is a joy, for sure, to watch them. So, starting out, I've been watching some tutorials on drawing. Yup, sure do. Why not? Add everybody else's style to my own, which creates an eclectic style for sure that is constantly evolving and changing, and I recommend you do the same because learning is part of this drawing process, and if you stop learning, then suddenly you'll stop evolving as an artist, and you don't want to do that. A lot of stagnation comes from that lack of ability to really look at yourself and say, I need to improve, and not have such a critical component to it and say, oh, I suck. You know, I for the longest time, I struggled. I struggled with that aspect of myself with respect to this whole drawing thing. And I had lost a large portion of my drawing identity of who I was and what I wanted to do. Because originally I was like, oh, I want to be a Disney animator. Not a Warner Brothers animator. Disney, because Disney is... They invented animation, didn't they? No. They did not. Animation was around, and Disney just put his mark on it. A very powerful mark indeed. But I recognize Disney did things a little bit different, and I really wanted to be in that culture. And I did some animating in college, some animating in post-college, and really determined that animation in its baseline is extremely active, meaning it takes a lot to do it. And whenever you're part of a production, let's say you're part of a movie production, there's so many parts happening at the same time, as well as different times, and once that particular section is done, like storyboards, they have a department for that, and then those individuals that were hired on for that particular job, now their contract is over, and that's just part of it. And I didn't particularly like that. I liked consistency, and this is the infancy me. Consistency of pay. I wanted to be part of a larger picture, and ultimately I realized that animation was not what I thought it was. Isn't that something? You have this picture in your brain of what you think something's going to be, and then when the reality shows up, it's like it kind of slaps you in the face. Now, those of you who are animators, I definitely salute you for what you do. But for me in my house, I like product design. I like determining and telling stories with products and really having fun in that capacity. That's kind of where my jam is now. Will that change in the future? Probably. Once I've kind of found my way in product design, then eventually I'm sure that I will segue into another arena, such as painting. I did murals for a while. I've done graphic arts. I've done children's books. And ultimately, me and animation had our fling. We had our fling. That's a really good way to put it. Me and animation, we were like this. Will I come back to animation? Maybe. But for now, I'm okay with being a product designer. And that's okay. So what I'm doing is, again, mapping out things, having that visual reference, putting the eyes in now. Talked about the documentary that I watched with that huge 800-pound gorilla, and the Bertie Gregory documentary I was watching about elephants. And it was wondrous. Just amazing, for sure. Shade these in. It's got a nice brow line. And whenever the gorilla was done with Bertie, in terms of allowing him next to his ladies and his family, he let Bertie know. Slammed his hand up against the wall, the tree, kind of in protest and anger. He's like, "You're getting too close, man. Just remember who's boss here." And that was awesome. Okay. A bit of a hair patch. I did find another Progresso Koh-i-Noor pencil. Somebody asked me what the difference of these is. And this is basically a woodless colored pencil. So for context, this is a color pencil with wood. This is a color pencil without wood. And you can see the difference. You get a lot more material. However, since this is wax base, they put the pigment inside of a wax substrate. The fact that if you drop this, although it is encased in like a plastic sleeve, it will break. Now this will only break the tip, whereas if you drop this, it will break the entire shaft, which is obviously not ideal. But I like these because there's limited artifacts, limited hard pieces, hard and soft, and whenever you draw with them, you don't end up with little artifacts on the end. And I can put these over on their sides and get real nice value when I need to. And that's basically the difference. Other than that, it's just a color pencil. It's nothing. People ask me because they want the tools of a professional, and I'm here to tell you, although nice, you don't need something special to create good art. You don't need a $12 pencil. You don't need any of that. You can do it with good old-fashioned Ticonderoga number 2. There are some pencils that work better than others, and I do have those. I do have your Blackwing, because I was intrigued. Who in their right mind is going to pay $7 to $9 for one pencil? I'm intrigued because I want to see what everything's all about. Now, Blackwings are good, don't get me wrong. I have one ready and handy. I don't think I do. Hold on just a second. I may have... Yeah, see, I've got my Blackwing Palomino pencils. These are fantastic. Japanese graphite, which means they grind it really fine, so there's going to be very limited artifacts. And a box of one of these can set you back $35 to $50, and there are limited runs. Limited runs, as opposed to extended runs. Honestly, I don't want any runs. So, and then it comes with this nice eraser that is replaceable, and you can extend it out. This is probably the star of the show right here. The wood, I believe, is California redwood. I'm not really sure. But these are really nice pencils, good weight. I'm always apprehensive about lending them out, because a lot of times people that use them fall in love and they don't want to return them, namely my children. Daddy, I love your pencils. Can I use your pencils? Yeah, you can use my Ticonderogas. No, I want the Blackwings. Heck no! A kid. So, gorillas, of course, being the behemoths that they are, have that balancing variable. That means whenever I do character design, I typically look for a balancing variable. If you have a big hulking, brooding lummox of a character who is maybe the muscle of the group, one of the things you can do is you can introduce that variable, so his name could be Tiny. And he could have a sucker, or he collects little unicorns. So the variable for gorillas, because they do look very large, and I'm sure there has been attacks of humans in the past, maybe not deaths, I don't know, maybe in the wild, but they are vegetarians. They eat plants. So you're not going to see them bloodthirsty and killing humans for food or anything like that. If you get too close, I'm sure if one of these guys pounds you, that would be that would be not good. Like Bertie Gregory. Oh, it's time to leave. Yeah, Bertie, you're getting a little too close with that 90-pound camera. You need to leave Tiny alone. Anyway, I digress. So, this is my first drawing of a gorilla. We had fun with this one. This one's nice. I like this one. Okay. Let's do this right here. And here we are, drawing number 2. Drawing number 2. Okay, so the female of the species, of the gorillas, obviously they don't have the robustness of the males. However, they're still super powerful. And I would definitely not want to mess with a female gorilla. That being said, they do have kind of some visual cues, such as their arms aren't as beefy, and their faces have a softness to them. I do encourage you, and I've said this before, definitely do your research. It would behoove you to learn something new. this belly that comes out like this. Got that leg that comes like this. Feet. And you see I don't get mired down in the details too quickly. And that's important for me because I like my details. But I have recognized through the duration of my tenure as an artist that we as people are impatient. Me in particular, I am a impatient person. No. Generally speaking, yes. And I want stuff done. That's why 3D sculpting has been, how do I put it, such a huge challenge for me. Oh my gosh, I can't even describe without getting emotional because 3D sculpting is so hard for me. A lot of it has to do, I believe, with the software because I use ZBrush. And there are other software packages that I can utilize. Blender, Maya. Gosh, there's even some on iPad now. Nomad Sculpt. And I made my bed. I'm sorry, I made my bed. I'm done. I'm not going. I tried using Nomad Sculpt, and that was pretty awesome. The things you can do with it. I mean, you can do ZBrush on iPad now, which is awesome. But for me, I've landed on ZBrush on the desktop. And I have had such a hard time. I've been using the software. Gosh, I can't even. Long time. And I'm not. I can get stuff done. I get stuff done. I use it in a professional capacity. And I use it daily. And they always say, if you want to really learn something, do it daily. And that is kind of my jam. Doing stuff daily. And that's what I really had to do with ZBrush. Using it daily, learning something new. When I don't understand something, I go to their website. They have a ton of tutorials for free. Take advantage of those, definitely. And yeah. Putting in the eyes is always a challenge, especially in a 3/4 view. Using those lines, the cues, to make sure that I put things in the correct place. And again, I don't have to draw every part of the eye. And it's okay if you give just a hint. And that's what I did right there. So if you occasionally hear a bird in the background, no, I do not have a parakeet. My apologies. All throughout my life, I always wanted, because my grandmother had them, a cuckoo clock. I love cuckoos. Cuckoo clock. And there is actually a bird, cuckoo bird, that sounds like that. Very fascinating to have that in my office. My wife's like, I hate that clock. That's not your clock. That's my clock. So, but for the longest time I had it in the office next to our bedroom, and it would go off late at night. She's like, honey, you need to turn that clock off. I'm like, what? I can't turn my cuckoo clock. My cuckoo? So if you occasionally hear it and then you see the video stop, it's because I don't want that recorded on the video. You would think that I would turn that off before I start my video process. But I don't. Because I don't. Okay, get that brow line a little bit down a little bit. Got this around here. Trapezius muscle. Yeah, the female's arms aren't as beefcakey. That is a new term that I came up with. Hope you like it, beefcakey. As the males. But I'm sure they are super powerful nonetheless. So that's what we're doing right now, is we're just, again, trying to figure out where stuff goes as I progress, trying to finish this sketch. Yeah. Okay, a little bit of shadow right here. Okay, it's got some fur right there. You don't have to draw all the fur, remember that. You can just draw an indication. Doesn't have to be every single strand of fur. Good. I'm going to come over here to this foot. Their legs and their feet are kind of elongated, kind of like this, and it's real. This part right here on us, it favors fingers, whereas them, they've got these really long center sections, and of course their fingers. But if you look, because I did this whenever I went to Unsta Zoo, is I got to really get up and close with them. They're beautiful. Oh my gosh. They're just so beautiful. Some people will say, I just want to take one home. No. They would tear up your house. You would have problems beyond your imagination. Tiny don't mess around. So, yeah. Let's go ahead and shore this up just a skosh. Sketch that in. Fur patch comes here. Got a shadow right there. Yeah, I think we're coming along nicely. Okay. A little bit of a shadow over here, it's darker. Okay. I love this paper. This paper is really good. The name of the company is ILLO, not a sponsor. Definitely check them out. Just a really good sketchbook. They're not cheap. I think this one was $15? I don't know, $20? They've got a myriad of different products over there. ILLO. Okay. This is numero 2. This is a female. Again, the arms are different. They don't have that huge back, not back muscle. They do have the back muscle, but It's not as pronounced as the silverbacks. But yeah, so you can see the difference. You got this huge in the way he stands, his presence, and you come to this, and she's a little less foreboding, but nonetheless still amazing and beautiful. I'm also a huge Bigfoot guy. Not that I believe in Bigfoot, let's be real. But I am open to the reality. See, Bigfoot doesn't believe in you either. The reality is we don't know everything as humanity, and we're constantly discovering new animals, and something that has been around, especially in different cultures around the world. We can't sit there and say we know everything. We're still discovering new animals, and something that maybe a different type of primate here in the States or around the world that we haven't seen. So, alright. I think we're pretty good with this one. Okay, final drawing of the morning. I was going to sharpen this, but I'm going to go ahead and fly with it. Alright, here we go. Once again, Willow. Oh, Willow. I had the very, very wonderful opportunity when I was at Disney to work alongside individuals that were animators. And one of the guys had worked on Lilo and Stitch, he worked on The Lion King, and a few of the other guys were ex-animators that used to work in the animation studio in Orlando, and that a lot of those individuals got absorbed back in the day by Disney Consumer Products, and that's where I work, Disney Consumer Products. But I got the very unique opportunity to work with a guy who worked on Lilo and Stitch. He also worked, I believe, on Lion King. And what else? Oh, he worked on Phineas and Ferb. That was awesome. I remember talking to him, and his style was very eclectic. But he was also kind of a chameleon. But he was a really good guy, family-oriented guy, and can't even imagine some of the things that he had to do over the years with regards to timelines, with regards to budgets, and all the contracts that you have to mitigate and go through with regards to being an animator. But he was just a really good guy. I really enjoyed him. I'm not going to tell you his name. It's not my business, bro. But he was just a really good guy. So get to work. That's another thing. Whenever you're around like-minded people, especially in art departments, you get encouraged. You really do. If you work with the right people. I've had the privy to work with good people and crummy people. And let me tell you something. I much prefer the good positive-minded people. I worked with a guy, oh gosh, he was so negative. He was so negative. It was really hard to work with him because he was so negative all the time. And I had to come to the conclusion that there has to be something in his life that kind of went awry for him to be so cynical. And eventually we came to terms, and he ended up being a good friend. So don't judge a book by its cover, or a person by their immediate actions and how turd-like they are. Sometimes they just need to be shown a little generosity. A little generosity. And that's exactly kind of what happened. Is we ended up being friends. And I asked him one day, "Why are you such a turd?" I'm just kidding. I never asked that. It's not my business. The thing is we all have our shtick, right? And sometimes, well, a lot of time, you just need to be patient with each other. Remember my mom would say, because I was, again, we're talking about me, Captain Impatience. She would say, "Honey, you know what patience is?" Because, you know, we'd be in line at McDonald's or something when she's buying McDonald's. And I'd say, "What is taking so long?" Because I was, you know, hangry. And she's like, "Honey, you know what patience is?" Of course, I'd heard it 1,000 times because she's my mom. And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am. Waiting with a smile. Patience is waiting with a smile." So definitely be patient with each other. We're doing our best. Draw the nose. The nose on these guys is very, very interesting. It's kind of like flat. It's got a lot of dimension in areas, but it's kind of like kind of mashed in. But yeah, be patient, because you never know when you run into some people like that. Maybe they've had a terrible day. I remember my wife telling me a story as I try and figure out all of this. See, I'm avoiding all this because all this is like bad. It's bad. So I'm going to go ahead and establish this right here. But my wife telling me a story. She used to work in banking back in the day. And she said one day, I mean, this guy was so mean. And she couldn't figure out, well, I didn't do anything. And he's like insulting her intelligence. And she worked in CDs and stuff, and investment properties and so on and so forth. And finally my wife said, "Let me get my manager to help you," because she had had enough. Come to find out, that morning, that person had found out they had stage 4 cancer and a very limited time to live. And that is, again, not great. So we all have a propensity to be impatient with each other. I encourage you, in that brief moment between offense and action, take a breath. Unless, of course, somebody's bashing your face or hurting your children or breaking into your house. You don't want to take a breath then. It's time for action! But, like, if somebody gets your order wrong or something like that, I think you get the gist. I'm putting in this really big fur. Goes around. He's got his thumb. He's kind of come out like this. Okay. He's got a really big brush. So I talk about thinking in terms of shapes, and it's very important that you do that. A lot of times I'll squint and I'll look at the overall balance of the piece and where I need to adjust focus. And right now, just so you see things the way that I do, he's positioned to the right. So we need something right here, this negative space. And I don't want to interfere with the eye line, and he is on the intersection, his face is on the intersection of that rule of thirds. Talk about that right there. So this is a good spot for that to be. Have that leg come around. Kind of covered. And in shadow, got some foliage here. Okay. Shadow comes here. So I'm going to put something over here because it needs it really bad. This isn't big enough. Shadow. Shadow. Cast shadow. Shadow right there. White shadow. Time I say the word shadow. I forget what the name of that movie was. What was the name of that movie with the snail? It was funny. He got zapped by lightning. Kind of like the Flash, but for snails. What was the name of that movie? See what happens whenever you start filling yourself up with other stuff? You can't recall what's important, what's knowing the name of the movie that term came from. See, that's the problem. I know too many obscure details about stuff that really doesn't matter. Okay, so we'll have a shape right here. So right here, he's facing, going this direction. I've got this nice arm coming out that kind of balances this right here. This balances this. So now I need to have kind of like a foliage, and then this will come here. There. He's got some leaves because he is vegetarian. Yeah. Drawing some gorillas this morning. That's where we're going to land for you guys. He's got this kind of a crown. He's like a prince. He's beautiful. I've messed up. I've messed up. Have mercy. I have that foot out because you have to have definition of what's going on here. And then you have the thumb that comes out. That leg's covered up. Anyway. Alright, you guys. Hopefully you're enjoying these drawings. Please like and subscribe and share. Please. Trying to grow the channel, trying to get stuff ready and prepared for all the tutorials that I'll be selling soon on Shopify and possibly on Gumroad. I really like Gumroad a lot. I found a lot on there. A lot of people are on there, but you keep it simple. Stay focused. See, that's another one of those completely useless. Completely useless movie references for those of you who don't know what that was. I cry for you, Argentina. Don't tell me Argentina. I love that music. Vita. Truth is, I never let you. A little bit of Andrew Lloyd Webber action. That's from the days whenever I was really into Broadway musicals. Alright, you guys. That wraps today. Have an awesome day. Go out and put some beauty into the world. And we'll see you next time. I don't know what I'm drawing next time. It'll be a surprise. Have a good one. Bye.